Hey guys, it's Cheryl Willis over at eXp Realty coming at you with the monthly market update for August 2025. And I'm going to start my market update with actual experiences that I have encountered in the market here in the greater Phoenix area. First of all, I want to point out to this, we are seeing a ton of sellers go on the market. They were testing the market and they're not getting the response that they were hoping for. And we are seeing massive delisting. I also received a phone call from a landowner not too far from this property. South Chandler actually still does have some raw land. And this particular gentleman owns this lot here. It's just under 5 acres. Now, he knew the owner of this other property that just sold for 475, approximately half the size. And he's like, now that I got that out of the way, I would like to put my almost 5 acres, but what I'm going to do on the market, what I want to do is subdivide them into four little over 1 acre parcels, and I want to sell them for $750,000 each. I'm like, where did you get that price from? And he started to tell me what Chandler's known for, and there's all these companies moving in, and this and that and everything. And I was all those companies already have moved into Chandler. And he talked about how Intel is just expanding. And I said, Intel just laid off several hundred employees in Chandler, Ocotillo, right? And that they are potentially selling one of their fabs to NVIDIA, which would be a great move. But again, what does that have to do with your land being quadruple the price of someone else that just sold their home? This is the type of sellers that are out there. And one of the things I said to him was he was knocking Gilbert, he was knocking Santan Valley. He was so sure Chandler was just the place. And I said, you are correct. Chandler is an amazing place. And that exponential growth that you're talking about already has happened. There's not going to be another ginormous chunk just shy of another COVID shutdown. And he couldn't understand why Gilbert was in higher demand or it was higher price. And I asked him, have you checked out Gilbert lately? Have you gone to Queen Creek or Santan Valley? He said no. So again, these are the kind of sellers that are out there. Here's another one that we actually had a buyer that was very interested in this home, despite the fact that we advised her, number one, home is overpriced. Number two, yes, the backyard is over the top, but the inside of the home didn't really match what she was even looking for. But needless to say, she was still very interested, even though, again, it backed to Queen Creek Road, which is a very, very busy road. It had the great proximity to the Queen Creek Trail. So there was some pros. Needless to say, on the market for many, many months at this point, we submitted an offer, still, in my opinion, over what the market value is even today. And they came back with this. The seller wanted 845 instead of the 850 price point. They wanted to only pay a buyer broker 1%, so that meant the buyer would be out. And they wouldn't give any money towards concessions and wanted his title company and this, that, and the other one. And said they were going to wait until they got what they wanted. Well, you know what? They eventually went off the market because they didn't get what they wanted. So again, there's a lot of those kind of sellers that were on the market earlier this year. Again, it's really hard to read the market when you are not here and actually making phone calls, showing homes, and having conversations with other agents, submitting offers, etc. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's a lot of YouTubers out there talking about numbers when they have really no idea what they're even talking about. Now, let's talk about what this means for the buyer side. We had a client this past weekend that this is why I say to people all the time, it's about the deal, guys, not about the home. They actually found a couple of homes that they liked. We went teetering back and forth with a couple different builders. We picked up this home. This is an amazing home. It is 5 bedrooms plus a loft, 4.5 baths, over 3,500 square feet, a 4-car garage, and it's on 0.21 acres. And it has mountain views, city views, etc. Listed at $749,995 to $750,000. We locked the deal in at $680,000. So, what does this mean for the market? That's what I want to tell you all about today. I want to show you what we're doing and we're experiencing on the ground, boots on the ground, and we can tell you really what's going on, the pulse of it. When we look at the canceled listing and the expires, I talked about this last month, they are still growing, meaning we're seeing more and more expired and canceled. I'm just going to call them delisting, right? Because they're no longer on the market. What exactly does this mean? Let's dive into that right now. Okay, what have I said all along? And I've said that interest rates played the biggest part in the real estate market. It also has made headlines over the last 30 days. I've been talking about it all year. And with that pressure, what did we see last week? We saw interest rates go down in anticipation for the Fed rate to go down next month. Now, my question is this, and I don't have the answer for you. You're just going to have to chime in with me next month when I actually pull these numbers. With the interest rates, again, in anticipation, we did see more buyer activity this past weekend. I know we were extremely busy, and I have also spoken to some other listing agents that said that they had quite a few homes that they've received offers on that have been sitting for a long time. So we don't have those numbers yet because it's happening right now while I'm doing this video. So next month we'll report what that decline in interest rates did to our market. And when the Feds, and they're supposed to be lowering hopefully at least 50 basis points next month. When that happens, the question is, will interest rates go down a little bit more, or will they stay where they're at? Or will they, again, there's a whole lot of things about to happen. This is the cusp of it, guys. If you're waiting for the bottom of the market, we're in it. We're in it. Let me pull this up. So this is called the Cromford Market Index. Let's just call it CMI for short. If the number under 90 is under 90, it favors towards the buyer side, so more of a buyer's market. If it's over 110, it's going to be more of a seller's market. If you guys didn't get the memo, it's a buyer's market right now. Almost everywhere, even in the high demand areas. There are some exceptions. Needless to say, if we look at the inventory, so that would be the supply, we are at 100, which that's fantastic. In fact, I got a Facebook memory from 2020 from this week. This number, hold on, I'll tell you exactly what it is. In fact, I'll pull it up. The inventory supply number was at 35.9. It has taken us 5 years to get to 100. It does not happen overnight. And I'm glad that we're finally at 100. But here's the thing. What's on the market makes a difference also. Now, if we look at the buyer demand, this is where, again, it's mostly been affected by that interest rate. There's a lot of people that are waiting. I mean, housing is expensive, but the interest rate plays a bigger part than the price. And people are starting to understand that. For instance, we just have a client today that's in the lower price point. And so he was like, instead of spending 450, I want to go down to 425. Well, first of all, the quality of the properties at that price point are significantly different, number one. Number two, if he's paying cash, I understand. If that's his finite number, 425 would be it. But he is financing. So if we actually go up to 450 and get maybe $10,000 or $15,000 towards closing costs and we can buy down the rate, the monthly payment will actually be lower at that higher purchase price because we have a lower interest rate. Back to my Cromford Market Index sheet. Sorry, squirrel. So when we look at, we see the we see the inventory supply at 100. We see the buyer demand at a flat 76. Okay, it's just sliding. When we look at the buyer demand, it has been flat. And that changes the whole Cromford Market Index number to 75.6, which has gone up. When this, as I mentioned, gets over 90 and it's on its way up, that will be a balanced market. This will change the market significantly for buyers. So if you're thinking about buying and you haven't yet reached out to us, please give us a call. That buyer window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. If you are waiting for a crash, This is the crash. This is it. I'm going to say we're in the 6 month bottom of the market. This summer may be that number. Um, it, and the problem is, and I've mentioned this before, if we wrote a contract today, we wouldn't be closing until September. We wouldn't look at the numbers until October. And then you want to look back, and we're pretty much in November to see what happened in August. See, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like right now, though, in November, we're going to be reporting low numbers, and people that are waiting for November, we're already going to be on an upward trajectory. I guess we'll just see, right? If you look at the list of buyer seller markets throughout the greater Phoenix area, it will show you here how different an area can be. So to say that we have one kind of market is kind of impossible. Not only do we have different areas, but we have three truly different markets. Number one, we have luxury. Number two, we have retirement. And then number three, we have the rest, which the rest actually is the largest amount of types of product, but the luxury carries it quite significantly. So it's really hard when you see even Redfin numbers or Zillow numbers. Oh, Zillow's not your friend, guys. In fact, I'm going to show this to you. I found this online. Zillow will set you up for failure right now. Do not pay attention. If you're just kind of like looking around and you want to see, oh, what's my home worth? That's fine if that makes you sleep at night to look at your Zillow number, but that is not accurate. What your home is worth today and what a buyer is willing to pay, very, very different. If you don't need to sell, don't sell right now. That's going to be my recommendation for any sellers. But what I was going to say is each of these cities are very different depending on also if they have a lot of condominiums. Condominiums are pulling values down, or if there's new construction. Let me tell you, if you're trying to sell in Maricopa or Buckeye or Surprise, you're pretty much having to give away the farm. And this can change very quickly, no matter where you're at. Paradise Valley delisted more than 51% of their listings because you know why? Luxury buyers aren't in our market in the summertime. Hell no, they're like, I'm not going to Phoenix until October. We'll see a little bump in some new listings, and then come the springtime, we'll see that heavy chunk. In fact, a normal new listing count for January, it's going to be 10,000, just to let you know. All right, if you're interested in the details, in the data, here's all those fine detailed numbers. Okay, appreciation, depending on how you look at it, we're pretty much flat. Year over year, we're flat, which again, we've been anticipating that we're going to see a 3 to 5% decline between December of last year to December of this year. I still think that there's going to be a decline, but it's really kind of holding still. If it all depends on this, how you look at it. So let's look at this first screen. This is showing the median price, and the median price, which again, once upon a time, you couldn't buy a home for the median price or under the, it was like, yeah, that was the median price, but the stuff was garbage. There's a lot of choices at 445 and under these days. And the median price, like I said, is at a 0.5% higher this year than last year. So it's flat if you look at it that way. If you look at the average sales price on a cost per square foot basis, we're actually at a negative 0.5%. So this is what I mean by, well, first of all, numbers don't lie, but there's a different story no matter how you break it down. Do you take everything, luxury, retirement, and general population? Do you take condominiums? Do you take homes only over 2,000 square feet? Do you take homes only under a million? Like, how do you look at it? And it's kind of all over the board. Here's the thing. The appreciation by price range varies. And this is, again, this shows you like how much it can vary. Condos are way, way down. And I say this all the time about condos. It's the first to go down and the last to go up. It is not a solid investment unless you are a lock and leave type of owner. Also, over 3 million is way, way up. So they almost kind of cancel each other out. And then we're left with the mid, which is kind of at zero. It depends on what you're looking for. So, in short, in my opinion, we saw a lot of people late last year thinking that this was going to be the year for the comeback. And so we saw those huge new listing inventory just get dumped on the market, coupled with the condominium market, condominium, townhome, etc., that came on the market late in 2024. In 2025, when we opened up the year, we had massive inventory, as did the rest of the country. And so it was setting us up for a market crash. But sellers stuck their heels in the sand and they said they are not coming down. And that is the only reason. And this, again, this is a national thing. This isn't necessarily, there's definitely different parts of the country that are also reacting differently. But we have more cancellations in the entire country than we've ever seen before. But that's also because we had a lot of unrealistic. I wouldn't even blame the sellers. We all anticipated that we would have had a healthier year this year. And it has everything to do with what's going on in the White House. There's a lot of people that are very apprehensive. They're a little bit nervous. Everything that has happened to date, whether we're talking about Wall Street, if we're talking about tariffs or whatever, everything has been fine. So looking back, it's like, no, we didn't see the crash. We didn't see a Wall Street crash. We didn't see anything super like incredibly damaging as a result of the tariffs. But consumer sentiment has been, I'm just going to sit here and wait. And only if interest rates come down will they probably get off that fence. People that currently live in their home right now, they love their monthly payment. As the people that I showed you, they probably have 2 and 3% interest rates. And they're like, well, it doesn't hurt to put my home on the market. If I could get this price, I could be convinced to leave. But if not, then I'll just stay. And that's what several, well, actually more than several, literally thousands of people have decided to do. People love their interest rates, even if their home's too small, too old. In fact, I have many, many general contractor friends, and they are so crazy busy because people are realizing that they can't get into a home in the area that they want that has newer updates or upgrades, and they don't know the condition of the home. And so they are kind of going back to that whole remodel thing. We saw that during COVID 5 years ago. It's happening again today. So if you're a contractor, your phone is probably ringing off the hook. A lot of people are starting to tap into their equity. There is a very large percentage of over $250,000 equity in their home. There is still a lot of untapped money in people's homes, especially here in the greater Phoenix area. All right, what we're also hearing is again, these naysayers on YouTube is the foreclosures are up 274%. It's coming, guys. The crash is coming. Well, you know what? You're right. They went from 35 to 131. 35 to 131. Here's the thing. When you compare it to really what a market crash looks like, we're just barely, yeah, it's not happening all over the place. But let me tell you where it is happening. It is happening in a lot of the new construction where people, although they were qualified to purchase homes under the, remember the saying people were doing, marry the house, date the rate, and everybody was anticipating that interest rate to come back down within 2 years, and it has been three. We're going on 3.5 years, guys. It started in spring of 2022. And those people no longer have that assistance with their mortgage payment, and it's just too pricey for them. They don't feel comfortable, and maybe they didn't like the area, whatever it may be. And so those are what I'm seeing, the ones that are going back to the bank, because the lender will not put them on the courthouse steps for lower than what they paid. They wait until it reverts back to them as an REO. And then if it's an REO, they put it on the market at fair market rent, or sorry, not rent, rate. And then they're sitting, but they don't really necessarily have a whole lot of holding costs. And they probably, yeah, they're willing to hold it because it's really not that many, not comparatively to what we saw again during the market crash. Get it, guys? All right. Also, days on the market, we're seeing a consistent 48 days before it goes under contract. So for buyers that are watching, if a home's been on the market 30, 40, 45 days, that's not unnormal. Sellers, oh, I'm sure it's very stressful. It is not fun being a listing agent. I recently sold, I was a listing agent for a condo. I am so excited that we were able to get it under contract in 6 days, which is definitely very different than the 48 days. But I'll tell you, it kind of sucks being on that seller side, just having to be berated with lower offers and negotiating repairs and things like that. Yeah, sellers in the seller is, yeah, they're going, please don't cancel. So you're doing everything you can to keep the deal together. Concessions are at an all-time high. 56% of our contracts out there today have a median price of $10,000 concession. It's almost kind of a given, but the majority of those are going to be in the price range of 225 to 600,000. That doesn't mean that you can't get it if it's lower or if it's higher. Lower typically means those are cash buyers, and higher, like even people that have a lot of money would like to save money. It just depends on where you would like to save that money, on monthly payments or on a purchase price. Also, list price to sales price, 97.3, pretty consistent throughout the greater Phoenix area. Some areas are higher and lower. It really depends. But when you're working with us, when we are evaluating what we're going to be offering, we pull all kinds of data. We have all different kinds of scenarios. We really walk you through and make sure that we get you the ultimate deal for 2025. Like I said, guys, before, it is about the deal, not the home. And there's a lot of, I've said it last month, there's a lot of poopy homes out there that are overpriced. And just next. So you're going to spend a little bit more time hunting for that perfect home. New construction, honestly, if you were already thinking about being in one of the suburbs, I'm telling you, do not go to that builder without giving us a call. We have gotten some screaming deals, and I'm telling you, there's so many realtors in there that just do not provide anything for their buyers. We want to get you, like I said, the deal of the century. All right, guys, Cheryl Willis over at Go Arizona Real Estate at EXP. We are here for you, whether you're moving in, out, or around the greater Phoenix area. And I can't wait to hear from you. Comment, like, subscribe, share to all your friends. Can't wait for next month. I feel like we're at the bottom, guys, right here, right now. August, September, maybe October. I don't know. We start to see more buyers. Just don't wait. Give us a call today.